Yeah, I was super tired. And then not only that, I was having a very hard time with building muscle. I felt like I was getting weaker. And as I was working out, I was doing a lot of different lifts to try to gain muscle. I just felt like I was getting softer. So it was,
Softer?
yeah, like everywhere. I felt like squishy almost. Yeah, it was like, man, I'm not building
Don't
any
we
muscle.
all?
So, and not only that, I was also eating pretty clean at the time too.
Mhm.
So I had to make a lot of big changes to really get back on a better path. But ultimately I felt fatigued like during sparring and jujitsu. Like I just felt like I could only last a few rounds and then
Mhm.
I'd be very fatigued.
Yeah.
So my doctor
Oh,
told me
jeez.
that after some of the testing and things like that, that it could have been MS, could have been, could be cancer. So that's when they started to want to do more tests. And I have little kids. So at the
Yeah.
time, I think my oldest, I think was 3. My twins were maybe 2. I remember having conversations with my wife. I'm like, hey, if I have MS or cancer, like MS,
Oh, jeez.
worst case, you start losing, the function of your body. And,
Mhm.
I remember having conversations with her that were pretty deep about like, okay, if this is what my life is going to be, I need to be, I want to really maximize my time while I can use my
Yeah.
body. And thank God that that wasn't it. But we were able to get to the bottom of what it was. And it turns out my testosterone was super low. My testosterone was in the 140s. We did multiple tests to confirm that because
Yeah.
sometimes, depending on the time of day that you do the testing, your testosterone is typically high in the morning.
Mhm.
So you have to make sure you do the testing in the morning so that it's accurate. So my testosterone was at one point the highest that it was from a morning test was like, I think 215, somewhere around there. So it's
Mhm.
still very low.
Yeah.
And uh, that was one of the major issues that I was having with
Okay.
that was impacting my ability to build muscle, things like that.
You were how old when you
So
first noticed it, I guess?
mid 30s, I'm 40. I just turned 40 this year. So I was, I want to say it was probably 4 or 5 years ago when I started noticing it. So probably
So
35. Yeah.
my age.
Yeah. I was your
Oh,
age.
jeez. You scare me here, Brad.
Yeah.
But um, yeah. I mean, we're rolling, right? Okay. Cool. Well, you want to introduce yourself, Brad?
Yeah. My name's Brad Johns. I'm a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. I own BJJ Lab, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Academy in Naperville. And I've been a patient of Jerry's for how many years now?
Like a year now, I think. Not even that long. Year and a half, maybe.
Year and a half, I think. Yeah.
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 For your, what can we talk about? Like your back and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even though I
Yeah.
just mentioned it,
For sure. Yeah.
I
For
should
my
have gotten
back.
consent first, but
You
it's
have
fine.
consent. Yeah.
But welcome, Art of Wellness, episode 3. I'm Dr. Jerry, Doctor of PT, and we got Brad. So I wanted to kind of talk about, we're both entrepreneurs. So I wanted to touch on how we kind of take care of ourselves as we're always working all day, every day. So I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
So um, the first question I want to ask you is, how do you stay on top of your exercise routine?
Yeah. So that's a good question. For me, it's one of those things where it's the habits that you have. And I've had to develop them over the years. And I would love to say that I'm consistent all the time. There's great days where I'm hitting everything and doing the exercises that I need to. And there's other days where I don't, but it's I think the 80/20 rule, right? I think 80% of the time I'm pretty consistent and I do those things. Uh, for me, it's once I started having issues with my back and I came to you and started working with you,
Yeah.
that made a ton of difference. I do jujitsu typically at least 2 days a week. I also teach jujitsu as well. Like
Yep.
I run some kids classes at the academy. But I stretch every day. I foam roll every day, and from working with you. That's been a massive change. That's helped me so much with my flexibility, with my mobility, range of motion.
Hmm.
Uh, working with you, I found that my hips are very tight,
Super tight.
super tight.
They're getting better though.
My hamstrings are tight. I have a lot of mobility issues when it comes to those areas.
Yeah.
So I know like when I do those stretches, I feel so much better. So even multiple times during the day, I foam roll. And what's really great is my wife's been making fun of me for years about foam rolling. She actually just started doing it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
you told
oh,
me this last
this
time.
helps a
Yeah.
lot. So it does work. It's great. Doing those exercises really helps. You feel better when you take care of yourself.
Yep.
You feel better. You're able to do more. You have more energy. I I think for me, what's most important with staying active and trying to take care of my body is, I have kids. I want to be around for my kids, and I want to be around with my grandkids. Now, I don't want to just be existing. I want to actually be able to play with my kids
Right.
and play with my
Hmm.
grandkids. I want to, when I think about long term, when I think about where I want to be as as we age and when I do become a grandfather, I want to be able to, I want my grandkids to be able to say, "Oh, my grandpa, he's the
For
jujitsu
sure. Yeah.
guy that's
Yeah.
still going on the mats when he's, in his 70s and 80s."
Hmm.
And I think if we take care of our bodies and we do the right things, that's certainly feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard because we're always, like I said, we're always getting calls, emails. Someone's trying to pull us in all different directions. Especially you. You're a very busy guy now. You have BJJ Lab. What else do you have going on? Other companies?
Yeah. So right now we're opening up another gym. It's called
That's
Go
what it was.
Athletic Club.
Yep. Hmm.
And we're doing the build out right now. We had a mural artist in doing spray paint and everything in the facility. It's awesome. It looks
Hmm.
really cool. I'll have to get you by there to take a look.
I would love to. Yeah.
It's really cool. We did a mural of Muhammad Ali. Yeah, I mean it's unreal. Like it's the guy was so talented with a bunch of motivational quotes everywhere out of
Hmm.
spray paint. Also, there's a mural of Bruce Lee. It's really cool looking.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
So let's kind of go step by step here. So exercise routine. What is your routine throughout? Do you have a routine throughout the week? Or you just kind of work out whenever you have the time?
Yeah, so I I have a routine. I go do jujitsu at 5:30 in the morning, typically 2 days a week with
Okay.
another black belt. And what's great about that is we get to work on things and really try to work on certain techniques and build on top of that. And so that's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And I I do that typically 2 days a week, and then I usually train as well another 2 days a week. So I was in teaching this morning, and even when I teach, I try to be on the mat and being active. But
Hmm.
a lot of times, I'm not able to roll or things like that, just because I like to observe some of the guys as well. But
Right.
um, so I usually some weeks I'm training 4 days a week as well. I stretch every day. As far as lifting, I have a machine. It's called Tonal that's in our basement that
Right.
my wife and I both use, and that's fantastic. I try to use that twice a week.
Hmm.
So I'm not lifting like heavy weights and doing a lot of
Right.
heavy
Hmm.
lifting like I did when I was younger, like in my 20s.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't want to get injured. There's ways that you can lift weights that are safe and do movements that are safe that aren't like Olympic lifting and things like that. You don't need to be doing that. Like
Right.
I don't do like any power lifting movements or anything like that.
Hmm.
Uh, just because of my back and things like that, I need to take care of it. So
But you are now. I mean, we're
yeah.
kind of doing some. Well, I've worked with you for like a year and a half, like I said. So I've shown you some different stretches, core exercises, things like that. How much better is your back since I don't know a year ago?
Oh, it's way better. I don't even think about it anymore, which is great. If I think about it, yeah, man, absolutely.
Awesome.
So if I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of pain there. But I guess if you think about anything, you like I can think about like I have arthritis in my hands from jujitsu, right? Like in
Hmm.
my pinkies. If
Hmm.
I think about it, yeah, it hurts, but I just don't think about it. Uh, it's one of those things where if I notice if I don't do my stretches, if I
Hmm.
don't foam roll, if I don't do the exercises that you've given me,
Warm up too. Yeah.
yeah, I will
Hmm.
be tight. I also notice days where I work out early in the morning,
Hmm.
I feel better throughout the day as well. I get
Hmm.
loose. I have more flexibility. I have a little bit more energy. So all of those things really help. And I feel like that's kind of my exercise routine.
Yeah.
But what's great is because of the academy and that's my place of work, if I want to work out or I miss a workout, I can just hop on the mats as well and
Yeah.
get some rolls in with the
Yep.
guys. And that makes it where I can kind of work out at any time. So
Yeah,
I'm fortunate to have that as well.
that makes sense. Would
Yeah.
you say jujitsu is your primary source of exercise? Is that like your main goal in terms
Yeah,
of staying active? That's what you love to do. That's the most fun exercise form of exercise you get is jujitsu.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I love jujitsu. That's like my biggest my biggest form of working out now. I love the when you're doing jujitsu, it's really the only thing that I think about. I'm in the moment, and I find that there's very few things in your life that really give you that, where you're consumed in the moment. You can't think about anything else, any stress you have going on, any issues. You really are able to focus and be in that moment.
Right.
And never when I'm doing jujitsu, especially sparring, do I think about, any issues that are going on in your personal life or any, challenges with work. It's you're in the moment. And I feel like that's a big stress relief. And that's why I really gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
I like the challenge of it as well. So for me, I love chess. Like I love playing chess. I like the strategy behind it. I like
Mm,
the trying to set up different moves or traps and pins and trying to trick your opponent and things like that.
yeah.
It's Jiu-jitsu is very similar,
Mm,
and that's another reason why I like it. So it's a lot of fun to try different techniques to try to set things up to try to bait people into certain moves and
right.
techniques. And what's amazing about jujitsu is you realize that the details matter. The small, intricate detail of, you know, fractions of an inch of, placement, of gripping, of certain things with the technique that really make it work. That's what I really like focusing on now is really trying to refine a lot of those fundamental techniques to make them even better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my main source of
Main source of
exercise.
exercise.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. This is important to talk about because a lot of people that I see as patients, they're runners, jujitsu people, weightlifters, football players, soccer players. So it's hard for them to fit in weight training within their sport. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
And most of the time, I don't want them to burn the candle at both ends, so to speak. So if you're lifting 5 times a week and doing your sport 5 times a week, you're going to be exhausted half the time.
Yeah,
So it's important to kind of like see where you lie on that spectrum of your sport and also weight training. So for
yeah,
you, you're doing it great because you're focusing more on jujitsu, but you're also putting in some weightlifting to help with the jujitsu, right? So it's important
thanks.
to not, yeah, to burn the candle at both ends, as I always tell patients, because it's you might be more prone to injury if you're exercising, two different modes, and again, you're just exhausting yourself and
Yeah,
overtraining possibly. So you have to balance both things out. Pick something, pick your goals, pick your main sport, and then sprinkle in some weight training, as I always say. So
yeah, absolutely. I think a big part too is recovery. Uh,
yes.
I I think that we want to lift to the point of exhaustion and
Hmm.
do jujitsu at like going 100% every round. And I've realized that as we age, you have to take care of your body differently.
Hmm.
And I ice like crazy. Stretching,
Hmm.
icing, foam rolling, all that stuff is very important. I have so many different ice bags like at my house that, I can strap onto my knee or like,
Yep.
put on my elbow,
Hmm.
my shoulder. I have a great shoulder because I have a torn labrum and
Oh
a torn
yeah,
rotator cuff.
that's right. Yep.
It doesn't even bother me anymore because I've been able to get the inflammation down so much just through physical therapy, stretching, icing. And now even when it starts to hurt, I just ice it and it goes away.
Yep.
So you have to take care of your body and your injuries, but also I'm aware of kind of what my injuries or limitations are.
Yep.
So when I do train jujitsu, I'm aware of not doing certain techniques that may aggravate that injury. I, you have to kind of get your ego out of it. If it means like someone puts you in a position that is compromising to that, pre-existing injury, I tap. I get
Right.
it's
Yeah.
okay,
It's not worth
right?
it. Yeah.
Not worth it.
Hmm.
Live to train another day, right?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
uh, it's one of those things where you have to be aware of that and really take care of your body the best that you can. And
Right.
so I ice a lot. I do.
Yeah. Recovery is huge. Um, yeah. I mean, I always tell people you have to play the long game. Like you just said, it's not worth it to push yourself to an injury. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because then you're just gonna set yourself back even another 4 6 months or something. You never
yeah,
know. sometimes you don't even know how exhausted you are until you start training and you start going harder, and then something happens and you're like, oh, well, I was exhausted in the beginning. I probably
Right.
shouldn't have went that hard anyway. But recovery is big. Nutrition.
Yeah.
How do you stay on top of that when you are, owning multiple businesses and working all the time?
You know, so nutrition is huge. I worked with John Brooks, who
We just had on the last podcast.
who's awesome,
Hmm.
right? John's amazing. I tell people at the academy, like a lot of guys come in and they're looking to make big changes in their life regarding fitness, health, nutrition. They're looking to lose weight, and I tell them if you look around the academy and you see any middle-aged dude that's in decent shape, I would bet that they've worked with John in some capacity, and
Yeah,
it's true.
yeah,
So a lot
he's
of
great.
yeah, he's awesome. So John really changed my approach to food. I worked with John back when I was having those health issues for probably close to a year and a half, and John really helped me change my approach to food. I realized that heavy protein, I really try to get a lot of protein in. If you're going to overeat on protein, fruits, vegetables. John made me. We hear that carbs are bad, right? They're
Hmm.
not. You need carbs. You need carbohydrates to function, especially if you're an athlete.
Right.
So carbs aren't bad. It's John really made me realize that anything in small doses is okay, but it's when we overdo it. And if you so for example, when I take the kids out and my kids want to go to a fast food place,
Hmm.
I typically can't eat that anymore. I don't eat a lot of fast food,
Yeah.
but what I'll do is maybe I'll get a salad and I'll eat a few of my kids' French fries just to I guess scratch that itch a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Or have a French fry, but I don't need to eat like a large thing of French fries
Yeah.
and a Big Mac and all that stuff that makes me feel sick.
Hmm.
So it really John helped me change the way that I look at food, and that's I basically just did what John told me to do and it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I tell everyone as well. If you work with John and you do what he says, you will get the results.
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
slowly changing those habits. But what's great about his philosophy and his approach is, he's not telling you to completely stop doing like he says you can still eat the fast food, just maybe instead of eating the whole thing of French fries, have a few. And
Moderation. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
moderation is
Hmm.
everything. So that's been huge for me nutrition wise. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I haven't drank in for a few years. That's been a huge game changer for me. I
Okay.
would notice I track my sleep with the Whoop strap.
Yep. Hmm.
I would notice like if I did drink alcohol, whether it was one or two beers, my sleep would be like greatly reduced. So I stopped drinking alcohol. My sleep is much better. I don't feel as like inflamed as well.
Okay.
I just feel better without it. And so that's been a huge game changer for me as well.
Yeah. Was it mostly beer or what kind of alcohol?
Yeah, mostly beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't drink any beer anymore. If I do drink beer, Go Brewing is awesome. Like I know I'm friends with the owner. He's also one of the partners at Go Athletic Club that we're going to
Yeah.
be opening up in next month or two.
Hmm.
Let's see. Well, it's November, so we'll be launching in January.
Wow. Yeah.
But
It's coming up.
yeah, so their beers are awesome.
I was
Uh,
just there on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, for a networking thing. I
oh,
was gonna
nice.
text you about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I figured you weren't gonna be there.
Did you have any of their beers?
I had what did I have? I think one of the ciders or something it was
Yeah.
someone bought me, but it was nice.
Yeah.
I mean the whole environment's super cool. It's a
Yeah.
nice big area. They got like a stage for
Yeah, that's great.
um little concerts or something they
Yeah.
have, but it's great. I love it there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh,
yeah.
they have good stuff. Really good stuff.
Hmm.
So that's I would rather drink that than have an alcoholic beverage. And now when we go out as well, I a lot of places have non-alcoholic options on their menu, or they'll have like mocktails, which is great, because then you avoid that peer pressure element a little bit.
Hmm.
And I think that I still experience that sometimes in social settings
Do you?
at times,
I was
but
talking to John about this last podcast because I never really drank.
yeah,
So, you know, parties, social gatherings, when people ask me, "Hey, do you want to drink?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." No
yeah,
one ever says anything. So
that's
maybe
good.
I've never experienced that before, but
Yeah,
or I'm just drinking something and they assume it's, you know, usually I drink water. They think it's
Yeah.
vodka or something, but
Okay.
no one even notices half the time. So, have you
Yeah.
gotten that then? That pressure of
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
really?
Even
Okay.
as a, like even
Why
over the
haven't I
summer.
gotten that? Okay.
Yeah, and it's always it's interesting to me. I think that um, it's unfortunate that people want to, I think, try to force that upon people. I'm at the
Yeah.
place in my life where I don't really care.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to be peer pressured into something anymore. I'm not, a teenager or in my 20s,
Trying to
right?
look cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really. It doesn't bother me that much, but a lot of times, usually that person has been drinking for, you can tell they're under the influence when they do start to try to peer pressure or tease you about it.
So people have done that to you then, like actually really pressured you into trying to drink.
Yeah, they people will more make fun of you for not drinking.
Really?
It's
Okay.
it's
A
not
little
everyone,
weird.
but there are certain
Yeah.
people. But also, those aren't really the people that I want to associate myself
Exactly.
with
That's what
as
I always
well.
thought of. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's I'm fortunate. I have a great group of people that I'm very blessed to have in my life
Hmm.
with the academy, with great guys to train with, great people that are working hard, that are trying to improve themselves in something really challenging like jujitsu.
Yep.
And usually they're doing big things in their lives as well. That it's motivating. And I'm fortunate to have a lot of those people in my life. And, those are the people that I'm drawn to, are people that are hardworking individuals that care about others, that are passionate about something, big in their life, that are trying to make, big changes and do big things. And
Hmm.
I'm fortunate that and really blessed to have a lot of those people in my life. It's pretty cool.
And I think that's a very underrated part of health and wellness is when you do surround yourself with people who, have similar values and are motivated just like we are.
Yeah,
That's how
absolutely.
we met, I think. You know what I mean? I met John first and I met
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
We're all on the same, playing field. We're all kind
Yeah,
of like thinking the same. We want to do this. We want to build this business. We want to, stay on top of our health and fitness, all that stuff. And that plays a big part into how you feel,
yeah,
your
absolutely.
social circle, your environment, all that stuff will make you feel better. And
Yeah,
it's, science backs this up as well. I don't have the studies on me on hand, but um, it's very true that when you surround yourself with people who are like-minded and motivated and lift you up as opposed to trying to drag you down, it has positive impacts on your health. So
absolutely.
don't ignore that.
Yeah,
Okay. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, for sure. I think, especially the older we get too, when you're younger, it's hard to kind of like pick and choose people. But when you're older, you're more sure of yourself and you could, like I said, associate yourself with, friends that are like minded. But
yeah. There's a great quote. You're an average of the five people you
right.
spend the
Mm-hmm.
most of your time with, and I tell it to my kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. And I think when you look at the people that you have in your life and the impact that they have on you, whether if they're doing good things, you're
Right.
typically going to be doing good things as well. If they're going places, you'll be going places as well. But vice versa is true as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I try to remind my kids that as well, as they grow and make new friendships and are trying to figure things out. My kids are 9 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
I have twins that are 7 as well, and so we really try to remind them of that as well. Have good friends, like really really try to surround yourself with good people, and
Right. Yeah.
it's just important.
Very
So
important.
yeah.
Let's talk about that. That's something different, I think, that we can kind of touch on. How have you been able to cultivate that social circle of people that do lift you up, that do motivate you, that do kind of, you know, are goal oriented as we are? You know what I mean?
you know no, that's a great question. I think what's really fortunate for me is a lot like when I look at the people who do jujitsu, and
Hmm.
especially like high level jujitsu practitioners or people who are doing something like jujitsu or a martial art, uh, they they're wired a little bit differently, I feel. And
Hmm.
I think it takes a lot of work and dedication to get good at something like jujitsu. So it takes a certain mindset, it takes consistency,
Hmm.
and it's habits.
Yep.
If you train consistently, 2-3 days a week, you're going to get good at jujitsu.
Right.
Uh, and that's over a long period of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But typically, if they have that dedication and are able to be that consistent in that one area, it usually goes into other areas of their life as well. So
Yep.
that's that's one way that I've been able to do that, to be able to surround myself with good people, is
Yep.
that
That
just through
built-in
jujitsu.
academy that you or built-in community that you have
Yeah,
already with jujitsu. Yeah.
absolutely.
I think it's, because I wasn't into that community, but I still kind of you know, through cold emailing John or cold
Yeah,
calling him. I forgot how I met him, but sometimes you just have to put yourself out there.
for sure.
And there's going to be people you connect with, you don't connect with. Thankfully, you and John were two guys that I connected with. And I think people are afraid to actually, call people, email people, maybe at a networking event like I was just at on Wednesday, just walk up to somebody and be like, hey, this is what I do. This is my business. What do
Yeah,
you do? Just a simple question like that and see if you guys connect on a certain level. I think that's a very important skill to have, especially in business, to
absolutely.
network.
Yeah,
And I know for me, it's made my life and health way better because it's just constantly I'm talking to people who I vibe with. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I think one thing that's been great about jujitsu for me in the academy is what I love is that we're able to help people. And when members come in that are looking to, whether it's an adult or a parent with their child, uh, we deal with all kinds of things where people are trying to make big changes,
Hmm.
whether it's someone trying to lose weight, someone who's going through something personally and they need community around them, uh, or someone who's looking to change habits, or a
Yeah.
child who's being bullied.
Hmm.
We deal with all of that, and what's great is we're able to really try to help those adults and those kids be a part of something and help
Hmm.
them become a better version of who they are. And that's
Definitely.
that's what I gravitate to. That's what I love. That's what I feel is really my mission, is really to help people become a better version of who they are.
Yeah.
And whether it's through jujitsu or with Go Athletic Club, that's going to be through fitness, and the striking component as well, because we're going to have striking classes there as well.
Right.
But helping them become more confident, help them become, uh, have more self esteem, help them be just a happier individual, and
Yep.
help them through that process of setting goals and working towards them and enjoying that process. And
Right.
then what's great about it is I see this through the academy. As people come up through the academy, they get better at jujitsu, and then a new person walks in the door. And what's great is when I see that person who was in a different place, maybe a few years earlier or prior, they want to then help that new person that comes in to the academy become part of it and help
Yep.
them, learn jujitsu and feel like they're welcome and part of the group. So that's that's what's been amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It sounds super fun.
yeah, absolutely.
So we've touched on nutrition a little bit, our exercise habits, our social circle.
Mhm.
Um, let's talk about how we manage our stress.
Yeah,
So, running businesses, we're always, like I said, we're always on call essentially. How do you handle that constant stress of people needing you or running a business? How do you handle the mental stress of it?
yeah. So we have a really good team.
Hmm.
I I don't really get too stressed out anymore.
Okay.
I I typically realize, okay, this is how much I can do in a day. I'm very organized. I typically will I have a to-do list. I use Todoist.
Hmm.
That's where I put all my tasks. So when I start feeling stressed, it's usually self-inflicted, where I haven't managed things properly.
Yep.
And I'm fully aware of that at this point.
Hmm.
So I have what's helped me massively is I have a business coach that
Hmm.
I hire,
Hmm.
that I work with. I meet with him on a weekly basis for an hour. We go over issues, sticking points, areas where I feel I'm missing the mark a little bit, or things where I see I need some advice.
Hmm.
So that's been a lot of help. Uh, I also have a really good team at the academy.
Right.
So we have
Hmm.
awesome instructors. I have Enron, who works as does like our front office stuff, helps with like operations management, things like that, helps with member services.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Hmm.
So he's a huge help. Have great instructors though as well. My wife is a huge help as well. I talk to her. I'm very close with my parents. Talk with my mom about things as well. She's a mentor.
Of
So
course.
I have just a lot of people around me that I can, when I feel overwhelmed, I can lean on them and talk
Right.
to them. And I think a lot of times if we internalize that, which I used to do in the past, try to get everything done.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you can't do it all. And even though you think you can, you really
Hmm.
can't. And
No.
So I really feel like having a good team in place
Yep.
is massive.
Yep.
So I try not to get too stressed out anymore. I also realize like because I have little kids, I try to be present in the moment with them. So
Hmm.
that's also helped me realize like if I'm stressed out, I'm not very good in the moment with my kids. I'm thinking about
Okay.
I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
things that I need to get done. And that's okay from time to time, but it used to be before I really figured out how to manage it. I I wouldn't be in the moment with my kids, and I'd be sitting there with my kids, not even
Mm-hmm.
focused and in the
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Yeah.
And we only have so much time with our kids. I saw something
Yeah.
about by the time your kids are 18, you spent like 90% of your time with them, or something along those lines.
Okay.
And that's eye opening for me. So I really try to be present with my kids, and again, managing my tasks and the things that I need to do. If I don't do that, that's when I feel stressed. So
Yep.
I get up really early. I try to I look at what I have coming up for the next day, the day prior. I'll even plan out my day.
Mm-hmm.
Typically every week on Friday, I spend about 2 hours planning out the next 2 weeks, going through every day. So I can look at my kids' schedules, my schedule, my work schedule, projects that I have coming up that need attention.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great about doing that is every time I do that, usually in the next week or two, I see something where there's a conflict. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, if I didn't look at this, this would have been like a big deal.
Right.
And I'm glad that there isn't, I'm able to resolve this now. So
Yep.
that's how I
That
avoid
relieves that
stress.
stress.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
think you're a lot better than at that than I am. I'm more of a I have a general outline of what I'm gonna do, but I
Yeah.
kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I've always been. But maybe as I get busier, I'm gonna need to plan out some more stuff. But I actually started using that Todoist
Oh,
app,
good.
and it helps a lot.
Yeah, you
So
like it?
yeah, I like it a
Good.
lot. It's cool. But yeah, stress is huge. I mean, you mentioned again the social circle aspect of it is people to lean on when you are stressed. So when was I'm trying to think of when was the last time you were really stressed and why? And what did you do when you did feel that stress or state of distress, as we call it?
Yeah, I think we feel stress, on a daily basis,
Right.
right? So I think that
That's
like I'm not
important to
saying
talk about too, yeah, because
I'm
stress isn't always negative.
right.
You know what I
Like
mean?
there's good stress. Like I think that when I feel stressed, there's moments. It's not. I don't let it overwhelm me. I
Okay.
guess I
Hmm.
could say. So, but what I do, like if I am feeling stressed, I typically notice it's when I'm not like working or operating out of a place of gratitude. And so, like for me, we can be frustrated about the work that you have to do,
Yep.
and oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. One thing that's helped me is kind of shift my attitude about it is, I get to do this. I'm fortunate. I get to take care of this today. I'm fortunate that I have these opportunities that I get to take care of these things, or I get to do these things today. So that helps me drastically. Because there'll be something that I'm overwhelmed with, or I'm like it's a big task. I found that usually when I feel that way and I actually like move forward and get the task done, it's usually not nearly as stressful as I thought. It usually doesn't
Yeah,
take as
that's
much
big.
time.
Hmm.
It's always worse in my head.
Hmm.
And I think we have a habit of making things worse in our minds than what they
Definitely.
really are. And sometimes just get it done. Just move
Yep.
forward, get it done, do your best. And
Do your
uh,
best. Yep.
absolutely. And also ask for help. I really had a hard time with that.
Hmm.
I really, now when I'm really overwhelmed, I ask for help. I talk to my team, say, hey, can you take care of this for me, please? Hey, I have this going on. Can you help me with this?
Right.
And, it may not be the way that you would have done it, but sometimes it's even better than the way you would have done it.
Yeah.
And that's what's great is kind of letting go of those things a little bit at times and asking for help when you need to, but also just, being grateful for what we have, being grateful in the moment, being, thankful that you have the opportunities to, take care of those things. And I think that having that mental shift is pretty, it's made a big difference for me. Um, One video that really, I guess, kind of drives that point home is Jocko Willink. He made this video called Good. Have you seen that?
Of course. Yeah.
It's fantastic. So that's perfect. So when I'm really like, when I have like a really rough day, I'll watch that video. I have it saved as like a bookmark on my, I think I'll watch it. And Jocko talks about how it's good when things don't go the way that you want them to, or
Yeah.
and how to move forward. So I highly recommend watching that video. It's a couple minutes long. It's
Mhm.
awesome. Like,
Didn't you meet him?
yeah, he was actually at the academy a few
Mhm.
years ago. So really
Nice.
interesting guy, really cool guy.
Hmm.
You know, just yeah, I really like how I like his methodology and the way that he really works to get things done, his discipline and things like that. I
Yeah.
think very interesting guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So
that's very important. Sometimes it is hard to be relatable to that sometimes because
yeah,
we're not robots, as I always tell people. We can't just be disciplined all the time.
right.
Um, Even him, I'm sure he has moments. He might not say it, but we're human. We're not machines, as I like to say. That also doesn't mean we can't be disciplined. There's always the answer is always in the middle. So, our life goes in waves. There's periods where we're more disciplined, periods where stuff happens and kind of it falls by the wayside.
Yeah.
So I wanted more so a specific example of when you were overwhelmed recently. So like when were you overwhelmed recently and what was happening in your life that you felt overwhelmed?
Oh, I could think of a lot of different
Yeah.
times. For example, my mom has cancer right now.
Yep.
And for me, what's been challenging is, initially getting through that process. And I've talked to you about that as well.
Mhm.
So, part of what I mean by surrounding yourself with good people is, having people you can talk to when you do have personal things going on. I
Yeah.
don't openly share that with a lot of people, but
Yeah.
you know, being able to continue to function and operate on a high level has been very challenging certain days. And it's one of those things where you have to keep moving forward. So that was very stressful at times. And there were days where I very heavily had to lean on my team just because my mom would be having a surgery,
Yeah.
or she's had many surgeries this year. She had one this past week as well. She's doing great. Um, but that being able to just operate and work and be there for my kids, and while I know that she's going through that as well, has been very challenging. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm also thankful that my mom is still here, that
Hmm.
I'm able to, she has great care from her doctors. She's tough. She's, I
For sure.
think been a really good example of how to, be very resilient when you're dealing with something as heavy as she is. And,
Yeah.
also, I have a good faith, and I think, praying is also a massive help for me as well. A lot of times we internalize things, but sometimes if you just pray and kind of are able to take a step back
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
not try to internalize everything and
Yeah.
realize that I found that the more that I worry about things and that are out of my control, it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
So that this year has been an ongoing theme, really. But
Right.
um, I also realized that my mom is despite her going through that, she wants me to continue to do well and work hard and be a good example to my kids and you know be be the best that I can be as well. So uh, I think that that's certainly been challenging this year and been overwhelming in times. But it's I've learned to process that and work through that as well. And again, all those things help me get through that process as well.
Yeah. Has that been the most challenging part of your life so far, would you say?
You know, I think it's one of them for sure.
Yeah.
Um, my grandfather passed away a few years ago. That was challenging. We all have lost in our lives, but I was
Yeah.
very close to my grandfather.
Yep.
Um, I think we were working together back when that
I think
happened.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really challenging. He was like I really looked up to him. He was a mentor. I was very close with my grandfather,
Yeah.
and he was a very interesting guy. I loved talking to him. He was a very good businessman. Really taught me a lot about how to, you know, how to operate, how to treat people fairly, how to uh, just do things well. And I that was a really hard moment in life as well. I think we've all gone through really hard moments of
Yep.
loss and things like that, and everyone has their own story. So, but I can think of other times where there were challenges in life and things like
Hmm.
that. But that's also what makes us who we are. And
Yep. Yep.
it's we all have those struggles and those things that we have to kind of push through. And keep moving forward.
Push through, go through.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
absolutely.
builds character, as I always say. It's tough, but you have to go through that difficult time. I always relate it back to physical therapy. When someone gets injured, they tear their ACL, they
Yeah,
whatever injury they have, it's just a setback. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And we have to kind of step by step get through it. And there's going to be periods of ups and downs. And I always say the rehab process is a metaphor for life, because when someone does tear their ACL and they have surgery, the rehab process isn't always going to be a linear progression of them just getting better and better every week. It's going to be tough some weeks. It's going to be flared up some weeks. Flare ups are normal, as I always say. It happens.
yeah,
But as long as the progression is going up and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's all that matters. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And
absolutely.
obviously, belief and positivity help a lot as well. But
Yeah,
sometimes you have to tell people, like, it's all right. Like you've had your back flare up sometimes,
hmm,
but
yeah,
sometimes it's part of the process,
exactly.
and we're not dead. We're still here. We keep
Yeah,
going. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, yeah. So we touched on nutrition, exercise, stress. Let's talk about sleep,
sleep. Yeah,
our favorite,
absolutely.
which I think is a very big problem these days, besides, the general activity levels of people, nutrition. I feel like everybody's underslept that I talk to. I talk
Yeah,
to people every day, different patients, and I ask them, "Did you sleep okay last night?" Most of the time, 80% of the time, they say no,
right.
which is crazy to me, but also very relatable because we're always so busy. We're always working. We're always doing something, and our brains are going a million miles a second.
Yeah,
How do you handle your sleep?
yeah. So sleep, sleep's super important, and
Extremely important.
I didn't really realize that until a few years ago, really. And I mean, my wife and I, we have at one point in our lives, we had three kids under 3 years old. So actually under two. So my oldest son was 18 months old when my twins were born. So
Hmm.
I've been through like not sleeping at all, like just
Right.
terrible sleep. And you know, so for me, I typically wake up very early. So sometimes I
Okay.
wake up around 4:45. You know, typically 4:45, especially when I'm training at 5:30.
Okay.
Uh, but then I usually wake up, even without my alarm, somewhere around 5:15,
Okay.
and I'm usually pretty awake then. Now, there's usually days where usually once a month, there'll be a day where I have to sleep a little bit more. So I'll sleep in, and maybe on a Sunday, I'll sleep in a little bit, but even when I do sleep in that day, I usually only get like maybe 7 hours. So
Okay.
I never get like 8 hours. I feel like I don't need it. Now I know that that's
Sure.
the
Yeah.
yeah. I can operate well without a lot of sleep, but it does catch up to me.
Okay.
So sometimes I notice usually if I get 6 hours of sleep, I'm pretty good. So that's usually what I shoot for, 6 hours. Now, days where I'm feeling really tired or fatigued, so there are days where I will only get, 5 hours sleep, sometimes less, and I
Yep.
don't feel great. I don't. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I use this. It's called New Calm, and it's fantastic. So I remember years ago reading one of Tony Robbins' books, and I heard about
Classic books. Yeah.
yeah, I heard about this product that he uses. Like when Tony Robbins does these events,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't get hardly any sleep. So to make up for it, he uses New Calm. And I was like, what's New Calm? So I started looking into it. They developed it for dentists
Mm-hmm.
to help people who have like a lot of anxiety about dental work.
Okay.
So you wear a mask and you listen to it's like binaural beats,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this calming music that puts you in a meditative state. And so I remember calling New Calm and trying to get a hold of it, and it was so expensive. It was like $5,000 at the time, and this was maybe like 5, 6 years ago, something maybe a little bit longer. But now they've come out with like a consumer option, and I did a mastermind program through them where I would use it and give them feedback, so I could get it cheaper. And I had to like log in how many days, like
Mm-hmm.
for 30 days straight, and then continual for several months after that for like the year, I think it was,
Yeah.
where I had to log data in so that I could have access to the uh, the whole app and the program for free. Or it wasn't for free, but there was a steep discount. And so now when I'm having a rough day, I do New Calm for like 20, 30 minutes.
Oh wow. Okay.
And they say that like about 30 minutes of new calm is equivalent to like 1 to 2 hours of sleep. And sometimes it works great. Other times I feel a little better, but
Yeah.
not, but usually it does help me drastically.
Right.
I think it's just depends on the day. And also there's other factors, how did I eat? Was my, did I work out really hard? Did I need more rest? Even maybe I should do new calm for 30 minutes, or maybe I should just sleep better. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of factors like that play into that and how you feel. But that's what I go to if I'm really struggling. I'll, you know, do that for 20, 30 minutes and I feel pretty good.
Okay.
And because a lot of times what I do is I will wake up early, but then I also work at the academy at night. So I'll be there till sometimes 9 o'clock, sometimes a little bit later.
Right.
So it's a long day. And I need to find ways to, make up for that rest if I can.
Okay. What
Yeah.
time do you go to bed usually?
Um, uh, Usually 10, 10:30, sometimes
Okay.
11.
You wake up around 5 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right around there.
Yeah.
But I'm usually in bed by 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then it depends on numerous things when I fall asleep. But usually, if I've worked out, if I've had a good day, I fall asleep pretty quick.
Yeah.
So
Like a
yeah,
big, long, tiring day.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
But so, I mean, so stress, nutrition, sleep, social circle, all those things are very important when it comes to pain and injury, as I always tell people, because pain is something that's not just structural or anatomical. It's if your sleep patterns are off, it could affect your pain. It could affect your back. Nutrition as well. Stress. When you're super stressed, you get super tight. Your muscles get really guarded, which can lead to injury. Um, Hydration as well.
yeah,
So I wanted to touch on all these things because it relates back to pain. So when people have those things when they're not really focused on those things and they start getting more pain, I always tell patients to maybe look at those things a little bit deeper. Like,
yeah,
can you improve your sleep? Can you improve your nutrition? Can you drink more water? Can you try to do your best to manage your stress?
yeah,
Which I know it's easier said than done. I'm not the expert in those four areas, but even just getting someone aware of those things when they are in pain, post-surgical pain, I don't care what pain it is, chronic pain, um, like I said, post-surgical, all those things can magnify tightness and pain,
yeah.
injury in the human body. So I think it's important. Do you notice when you are stressed, maybe you get more tense, maybe your back starts to get a little tighter?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Yeah, I think I notice when I'm stressed though as well. Usually there's numerous things that I'm not doing. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm probably not sleeping
And that's what I
well,
was saying. Yep,
not
exactly.
eating good.
Hmm.
Like, and then you do too much of that, you just don't feel good
Why do you think that
anyways.
happens? Why do we fall off? Like, is
It
it
could
because we're so
be,
busy or
see, I think that I think that it's when we're disorganized. I think that when we miss, I think a lot of it's self-inflicted and it's the habits that we have. So I think if you fall off those habits, those good habits of, you know, stretching, eating good, getting enough sleep, taking care of your body, working out. When you fall off of those habits and then something happens in life, like with work or with
right?
family,
Hmm.
and you're not doing those things well, it just makes it magnifies it. So I think if you're able to have good habits, be consistent with those things, do the things you're supposed to do that are within your control, because so much happens that's out of our control.
Right.
If you can control your diet, your your physical exercise, your sleep, uh, you know, making sure that you're doing those things right when life is not going as planned,
Hmm.
which will happen for all of us. At least you have those things within your control. And then
Hmm.
if you don't have those things going, if you're not doing those things well, everything else will spiral. And
Yes. Hmm.
so you'll be too tired. It will become stressful. It
Hmm.
will become overwhelming. And that's what I think is important. And for us to identify and to recognize is, you need to take care of the things that are within your control so that you can handle the big things when they come up.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I've really tried to, I think, wrap my head around this past year, especially with my mom.
Yep.
Try to have the good habits, work out when I can,
Hmm.
stretch, be present, be in the moment, be thankful, do the things that I know I need to do
Yeah.
so that, I can handle those other things
Hmm.
well.
Yep.
And, another thing is I again, I try to be a good example to my kids. That's
Yeah.
when I start to fall off, I always remind myself, okay, am I being a good example to my kids?
Right.
So like one thing that, like, for example, when my kids, because I wake up before everyone, I never want my kids to see me sitting in front of the TV in the morning. So I always
Yeah.
try to, be in the office or, be reading. I never have the TV on. If I do go over to the couch, I'll be reading. So I try to read for at least 15 minutes a day, journal, write out my day, look at my calendar, look at what appointments I have. That way everything's structured. I know like what's happening
Hmm.
and just trying to control the day as much as I can.
Yeah.
But, I can't imagine what my kids would think if they came downstairs, saw me playing video games or, on the PlayStation, right?
Right.
Or watching TV, then they're going to start wanting to do that as well. So it's, yeah, it's those little
Do people
things.
even watch TV anymore? I feel like the TV has been replaced by this right here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I mean, we still do
Do you still
from
watch
time,
TV? Okay.
not much though. If we do, it's usually something that my
A
kids are
show or
watching.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's when you said, those four areas as I always talk about, you can't always be perfect with them either. So like it's that balance of trying to control things, but also realize that you always can't. And I
Right.
think that gentle balance of both is what we need more of instead of always trying to grab on and control everything. That can also lead to more stress.
Yeah.
And also letting go completely, you're kind of just letting everything just kind of happen to you, which isn't good as well all the time. That gentle balance of both of controlling it, but also realizing that things can happen is a great mindset, I think, because
Right.
even just focusing on your nutrition, sleep, hydration, stress, even by 1% more, 2% more, can make a huge difference in most people's lives. And I think a lot of times, especially when I work with athletes, working with athletes as I do every day, a lot of them are perfectionists and they're
Yeah.
controlling and they want their training to be perfect and their running schedule to be perfect and their weight training to be perfect, nutrition perfect. So I see the opposite side of that as they're trying to control everything and it makes things worse for them too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Absolutely.
So I think it's important to find that gentle balance of both, of realizing that you can control it, but also realize that if something happens, it's all good. You know?
Yeah. There's, one way that you can look at it is, you can try to win every day, but not every day is going to be a winner.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
if you look at everything, like by the end of the week, what I typically do is look at I'll reflect back when I'm doing my 2 hour planning session for like the next 2 weeks. I'll look back and I'll say, okay, Monday was a good day. Tuesday we were off, but man, Wednesday and Thursday I did really good. Sunday was good too. I think this week's a winner. Like I did good this week. Tuesday I was a little bit off, but what can we do different moving forward?
Hmm.
And if you dwell on every day, like for, man, I didn't do this today. I didn't do that. I wasn't able to get this done, or I didn't do that workout. And then, that just sets you up to have a negative mindset moving forward. I think that if you look at it and try to look at your performance for on a weekly basis, like did you win the week?
Hmm.
And typically if you're winning the week, you're having more good days than bad.
Right.
And that's how I try to look at it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Let's talk about your back then.
Yeah, sure.
Well, actually, last time you came in, I saw you what, last week?
Yeah.
What was going on? It was something else. It wasn't your back.
My
It
neck.
was your neck.
Yeah, my
That's right.
neck. Yeah.
How's that?
It's good, man. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a little tight, but not
It's a little
bad.
tight still?
It
Okay.
is.
Oh no.
I get it. I think it's self-inflicted a little bit,
What
but
do you mean?
well, just in jujitsu, I
Just
do.
okay.
Yeah, some of the movements that I do in jujitsu aren't
Hmm.
really great for your neck either.
Right.
So I think that it's one of those things where I need to be more aware of that. Also, stretching my neck, things like that. I do a lot of stretches for my back, for my hips. I'm
Right.
not really incorporating a lot of stretches right now for my neck. Today feels pretty good though,
I
but I
think I
did.
showed you a couple of stretches, but we'll reinforce them next time I see you. So
Today feels pretty good though.
okay, that's good.
I did neck stretches this morning though. I did.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay, good
I did neck rotations and things like that
stuff
as
like
well.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think for you, you don't really have anything crazy going on. Like I just see you for general like maintenance visits, as I call it. Like you,
Yeah.
you come in and you tell me, hey, my neck's tight, or hey, my back's a little tight. I reinforce some exercises and rehab stuff that I could, give you. And also I do some like, general hands-on work, nothing too crazy. But, you know, you're doing great
Oh, thanks, man.
overall.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I mean, your neck was super tight when I was working on it, but
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
other than that, you're good.
Thanks, man.
Um, your hips,
Yes.
how are they feeling now?
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. I trained this morning, so
Hmm.
again, days I train, I feel pretty good.
Hmm.
Because I'm forced to stretch, foam roll, things like that. So days where I don't do those things, I usually feel a little bit tighter, but
Hmm.
it's not terrible.
Hmm.
And I know when I'm tight, I just stretch.
Hmm.
Even at home even when I get home from work some nights, and I'll just go and stretch for 10 minutes real quick.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even while I'm talking to Tara, I'll be stretching. And that I think is important just to keep that mobility and that range of motion as well. But yeah, my neck's feeling pretty good though today.
Neck's good.
Yeah,
Hips are good.
hips are good. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
stretch every day.
yeah,
You're on top of things.
I tried to be, man. I
Yeah.
try. Absolutely.
And I remember when, when you first came in, the very first time I saw you, you were a little bit bigger, you know what I
Yes.
mean? And
Yeah.
then you lost a lot of weight, you started focusing more on stretching and exercises. You look like a totally different person,
Oh, thanks,
honestly.
man.
Yeah.
Well, you've been a huge part of that though too. When you have pain, it's hard to move, and then when you throw in, your lack of movement and lack of exercise, but if you're still keeping those habits, like poor eating habits,
Right.
you're going to gain weight. And so for me, just all it is switching back to some of those better eating habits, being a little bit more active. But when you feel better, you can be more active. So that's why it's important to take care of yourself and to do those movements and to stretch and foam roll, ice, all of that. Because it's easy to start making excuses. And I find that once you start making excuses on why you can't do a workout, or
Hmm. Hmm.
it makes it much easier the next day to do the same thing.
That vicious cycle kind of continues. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, my
Yeah.
elbow's a little sore today.
Hmm.
That said, if it is an injury, you shouldn't do certain movements,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But if you're just a little sore, or you can do active recovery as well. I don't really, I don't really want to do movements that will, hurt my back or things like that. So
Right.
I make sure I do exercises that are comfortable and not causing pain.
Yep.
But when you're in pain, it's hard to be active. So
As I would say, pain kind of throws everything out the window. When you're in pain, it can lead to more, more stress,
yeah,
start getting anxious about it. People get depressed with it.
yeah,
Um, people can really easily fall in that vicious cycle of I have pain, I'm scared to move, I'm scared to exercise, and they do nothing, and then it gets even worse.
yeah,
So that's why it's important to see a physical therapist because you should be moving when you are in pain. It sounds counterintuitive, but there's safe movements and safe exercise that people can be doing when they do have back pain, ankle pain, knee pain, neck pain
yeah.
to build that confidence to get back to their usual workouts,
Right.
back to training, to jiu-jitsu, to running, to football, to soccer. I don't care what it is. They should be moving, even if there is some pain. Of course, if the pain is like 10 out of 10, they can't move at all.
Right.
We'll chill a bit, of
Yeah.
course. We'll keep it more on the passive treatment side. But the second I get that green light of their pain is like maybe like a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, and they can generally move, we should be doing some sort of exercise to help with that pain,
Yeah.
which we've done with you, especially in the
Mhm.
beginning. Your back was always super tight and guarded and painful. Now we have it at a point to where we could just kind of do maintenance stuff. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think when I first started coming to you, I was over
you were
230.
bigger, you were more in
Yeah.
pain.
Yeah.
You
My
look
back was
totally
really
different
bad
now.
though then.
Yeah.
So you helped me a lot with like so many of the stretches, exercises, getting that mobility back.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was massive. But yeah, I think I'm down to about 208 now. So and that's
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel very different.
Hmm.
So that's been a huge game changer for me. So because when my back was hurting, it's harder to do jujitsu. I wasn't able to train as much. I wasn't able to lift as much,
Yep.
and so it's a process. So you have to take care of it though to be healthy, or I could have just kept gaining weight as well and not really done anything about it. But you know, now we work together on a monthly basis. I just
Hmm.
come see you just in case,
Like a
right?
check-in type visit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and usually, there's something to work on,
Hmm.
and it's more to just keep me accountable as well,
Hmm.
to make sure that, I'm taking care of myself as well. I
Hmm.
mean, another thing I think is really important too is I'm brutally honest about my habits. And, if you ask me if I'm doing the stretches, like I could say, yeah, sure, Jerry, I am. I know that you know what you're doing, and it's easy for you to be like, yeah, you're really not.
Right.
You have to be honest, and that's all. Like, so for you, I'm honest about my physical activity. With my business coach, I'm honest with him about what I'm
Yeah.
doing in the business, and I have to be brutally honest, like because if I'm not being truly self-aware and transparent about what's happening, that's not going to help me achieve my goals
Right.
and help move things forward. And that I think is really important, is to be brutally honest with yourself and
Yep.
own it. And I tell you, yeah, Jerry, I have not been doing these things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've had those
I hear it all the
conversations.
time. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I didn't foam roll this morning.
Hmm.
You'll say, are you doing the cat cows? Right?
Yeah.
I don't do those. I don't like them. They help, but I don't like them. But I'm honest with you about it, and then
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, I got to do the
We
cat
pick
cows, right?
something else then. Maybe they
Yeah,
do like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
but they do help. I
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where I like doing other exercises more.
Sure. We could find those exercises.
Yeah,
My head is a library of different rehab exercises over
yeah,
the years, but I mean, that's a common thing with most physical therapists is, it's an inside joke that we have that most patients, when they come in the next week, they're like, "Oh, my back still hurts." And then we ask them, "Hey, did you do the home exercises?"
right,
They're like, "No." I'm like, "Well, what was that's the main thing." You know what I mean? I could
yeah,
do all that fancy stuff to you guys. I could dry needle you. I could crack your back, crack your neck,
yeah.
cup your back. All that is very short term treatment. You're gonna feel pain and stiffness if all you do is that every week
Well,
without reinforcing it.
I think we all want a quick fix.
Yep.
We all want the magic pill that we can take that will solve all the problems. And the reality is, you have to work at it. Taking care of your body is work.
Hmm.
You have to work at it, but
Hmm.
you only have one. You only have one body, and you got to take care of it. And it's it's a constant thing that you have to maintain and do. And that's why I work with you, because it's taking care of my body, and I know I have to do it. And for again, it gets into longevity, gets into all of that. Like, I want to be very mobile as I age, and I want
Hmm.
to be able to be active, and it's important. But there is no quick fix.
No,
You have to do
there
the
isn't.
work, and it's so much more rewarding that way, though, too.
Yeah.
And then you actually start to learn to enjoy it.
And
And
then you build habits. Like I,
yes,
I give you exercises, you have them for the rest of your life. If you do feel a little stiffness in your back, I can't always be there to crack your back or to dry needle it or,
yeah,
which again, people love it. I get it. It's fancy. It looks cool. You can put it on TikTok and go viral with it. But if you're not reinforcing it with exercises, rehab exercises for your specific ailment, in the long term, it's not going to get any better. You know what I mean?
well, I stopped going to a chiropractor. So one of the things that was happening back when I was having health issues was I was going to a chiropractor, and I was getting adjusted, and he would crack my neck.
Hmm.
And one thing that I noticed is that I would sometimes wake up and my hands would be completely numb. Like, I completely
I
numb.
think you told me that's right. Yeah, yeah, you told me this.
And it was scary. So that's one of the reasons why they thought I might have MS, because I guess that you can get that body,
Hmm.
numbing in certain areas of your peripheral, your hands, your feet.
Yeah.
It's very common.
Hmm.
So that's another reason why we went down that path. And I came to realize after all the tests, I'm like, maybe it's the chiropractic, the chiropractor that's cracking my neck and adjusting it that's causing these issues. So I don't have that anymore, but I also don't go to the chiropractor anymore. Now, that's I don't know much about chiropractors or things like
Yeah.
that. I've done some research. You can look into it and see what the history is of it and where
Right.
it's founded on. But now I don't do those things, and I don't have any numbing in my hands anymore. So that's been
Yeah.
a good thing in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And I think that it's interesting when you go to the chiropractor and they adjust you and it feels better. But um, is it temporary? Is it? I don't know. I just want to stick to more
It is.
proven
Yeah.
practices that actually,
All that stuff is temporary. It's all just
correct.
input. The way I explain it to people is if someone is trying to realign you every week or, put your back into place every week, they're just taking your money,
Right.
essentially. It's
Yeah.
bullshit, and I hate to swear. I apologize for swearing, but healthcare is something that I'm very passionate about. And if people it's those people that are ruining the rehab profession. we have to empower the patient to get better on their own. And if we're just constantly working on them or doing something to them, we're not going to reinforce those lifestyle habits that they can have in the long term, which is teaching them how to move, the rehab exercises for them that they can do on their own. And that to me is the biggest part of physical therapy. And thankfully, we're well versed in that as PTs, to teach you guys exercises for your pain you're having, or injury, or post surgical pain, all that stuff. Um, but we're kind of running out of time here. But what's your favorite stretch that I've taught you?
Oh man,
Like the hip ones, the 90-90? I feel like we
yeah,
always do
I
that
like the
one.
90-90 one. I think
You want to demo it and I can kind of explain it while we're.
so it's not my favorite though. I
It's not your
love,
favorite?
dude, I love foam rolling. I love
Oh, do we
foam
have a
rolling.
foam roller? I don't think we do.
I foam roll, like I love that foam roller, man. I could do that all the time. I do. It's fantastic.
Oh, he's
Yeah, there's a
going.
foam roller. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I love foam rolling.
So let's do a little demo
Okay.
of some foam rolling,
Sure.
and then I'll explain foam rolling a little bit, and then we'll do the 90-90 stretch. Can you stretch in those jeans?
Yeah, yeah, these are
Stretchy jeans?
pretty stretchy.
Okay.
So
So what foam rolling essentially does is, again, it's all input into the nervous system. So think of it as a self massage. And what people are doing when they are kind of working on a specific muscle is you're getting more blood flow to the area, and then you're causing the nervous system to kind of down regulate or relax. So say he's rolling on his piriformis muscle, his hip muscles right now. If they're tight, he'll feel it. He's working on he's working on it. So what that does is your nervous system senses that input, causing it to relax. That's all it's doing. It's not breaking up scar tissue. It's not breaking up adhesions. Don't listen to people that say that. That's all, fake medical science. This is just relaxing the muscle you're working on, essentially. And that goes for anything. It goes for dry needling. It goes for cracking your back. It goes for massage. Your nervous system senses that input, and it just down regulates, relaxes, and you feel better for a short period of time. So we got this one. Your hips are super tight, so I'm always having you do this.
yeah, I like this one.
And then the 90-90 stretch. Let's do that real quick. I could kind of explain that one as well. One of my favorites. These are so easy to do as well because say you are watching TV or just hanging out doing something, you could get on the floor. You could stretch the front leg is an external rotation of the hip, and then the back leg is an internal rotation. So you're getting both of those motions, which helps with, for you, Brad, jiu-jitsu, honestly. You could kind of lean back a little bit too, get more IR, internal rotation of that hip. You can kind of feel it in the back leg. Even just hanging out in these positions will help alleviate some of that stiffness in your back, in your hips, just for a minute. And then you could switch legs, switch sides. The right leg goes into external rotation now. The back leg is an internal rotation. And now we're working on those two motions as well for both hips. And people can do this, again, just for a minute each side every day, before bed, in the morning. They could do this, get their hips loosened up. They'll feel better, especially if they sit all day. So easy stretches, easy things to do. Takes 2 minutes of your time, but a lot of people don't do it. And this is why they should go see a physical therapist, because we're well versed in all of these exercises, and they're so easy. They take 2 minutes, and they make a big difference. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
thanks, buddy.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for joining us. Do you have anything you want to plug, Brad? Like your website, your Instagram,
Yeah,
business stuff?
if you're looking for jiu-jitsu, BJJ Lab Naperville.com.
Yep.
We're based in Naperville. It's an awesome academy. I love everybody there. It's an awesome family environment. We have a lot of fun. And then we're going to be opening up
The
Go
new
Athletic
gym.
Club
Yeah.
as well. It's right across the street behind Go Brewing. We're going to be doing a soft opening probably in December and then launching it in January. So
Cool.
that's coming up as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, viewing, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you guys have any questions about pain and injury, Instagram is the easiest way to reach me. So it's at APT Dr. G. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.